So welcome everyone. It's so amazing to have women from all around this beautiful country to join us today for Soul Leadership, the Power and Purpose of Meaning with the fabulous Emma Gray. Before we start our official event online today, I will just like to introduce myself, Lyn Hawkins, National Director and the founder of Businesswomen Australia. And to acknowledge the country on which we're all meeting. I'm actually on this beautiful country of the Noongar people, the Noongar Nation. The Whadjuk people have lived, danced and celebrated on this beautiful land, Budja, for over 60,000, maybe potentially 120,000 continuous years. And I'd pay my respects to Indigenous elders past, present and emerging. And we all acknowledge the country around this beautiful nation in which we're all meeting and zooming in from, and celebrate our Indigenous sisters in business. We had a magnificent event last night, and Kyra, who was one of our panel speakers, a First Nations leader, amazing young woman, really spoke from the heart about the importance of the work from Uluru message from the heart there, and she's going to be actually representing her people. She comes from the Coolgardie area and representing them in Parliament with how this is going to really help heal us as a whole country and work to really bring us all together in terms of looking at the future proactively and making it a much better place for all Australians. So she was just phenomenal, and I think we learned a lot. So we're very privileged to have her with us. So for those of you who, most of you on this call today are really deeply entrenched in the Businesswomen Australia vision and mission to help really raise the profile of women and share our messages. And to be collaborative in our approach in doing that. We're really building an incredible network here of influence. And through that network, we're creating opportunities, carving out opportunities for ourselves and for each other, and carving out opportunities for other women in business as well. And I'm really excited how the collective is really starting to take shape. It's sort of been an overnight success story, but we actually established it in 2015. So it's been a long time getting to this place, I think, where we really are kind of self-sustaining. And I think the magic is in the fact that there's this amazing mix. We have emerging leaders very welcome into the collective, and we have, working with women who are experienced board members and C-suite executives. We've got consultants and coaches from all different areas of knowledge specialization. And we've got business owners and entrepreneurs. We're really lapping up this opportunity to have these amazing tapping into the expertise of all these incredible women that have had experience from, not-for-profit for purpose and for-profit large corporates. And I really think that that's where the power of this collective really is, and the ability for us to really then focus on these areas of development where, leadership really is leading ourselves first. So it starts with me, my own understanding, my self-awareness, and then how I lead others. And that is really what I think is indicative of the type of woman who really gravitates to Businesswomen Australia, is the recognition that, we're not perfect, but we are perfect in that imperfection. And it's actually okay. I was saying to Leanne, and Kerry, actually I said to Kerry the other day, I'm failing forward really well at the moment. And Kerry was like, what do you mean? I think it might be a Brené Brown term. I'm not 100% sure, but I've definitely stolen it for someone because I'm really good at stealing ideas off other people. Anyway, we're all got this focus, I think, on recognizing that one of the big challenges is to be okay with just getting something done rather than getting it perfect. Personal growth is a really big part of what we're about. Business improvement comes from all those kind of basics and foundations. And I think today's session with Emma Gray is just going to be really giving us the opportunity to contemplate and experiment and really start thinking about all this in relation to ourselves and how we are very whole as humans, more than just, the head and the skills. Our values, I hope we demonstrate these values in our behaviours. I'm not a perfect person by any means, and every one of you know me well, that I fail quite often in some of these things. But what I love about my group here is that you guys will hold me accountable and very, very beautifully and caringly tell me when I'm not showing up the way that, we are trying, because it is sometimes hard to live life according to our highest values. And of course, out of all this comes the wonderful connections and friendships. To be honest, that is the biggest benefit that I've had out of being part of this community. The knowledge and the learning, it's been brilliant. I've been transformed as a person through the sorts of work that Emma is going to be sharing with us today, and that Vida, who's on the call, has been, really mentoring me along the way from being what I was, a very corporate kind of thinker, very evidence-based, very data-driven, very plan, do, check, act kind of chick, and really actually becoming much more embracing of my feminine energy, as well as this wonderful masculine energy that I have and I don't ever want to lose, but I also want to be very balanced and really give permission to my feminine self. So those of you who are socially good little social ninjas, we have a LinkedIn group and a company page. Please follow, please join the group. Our members get to post in the group, so if you're keen to post, if you've put a post in and you're a member and it doesn't look like it's got on there, just shoot Leanne an email, because sometimes it takes us a day or two to get through, because we have so many requests for posts. It would be a spam city, and a lot of those requests are from non-members. So it might have got lost in there. We have our website, of course, with our calendar of events and all the directory of our amazing members. They're all publicly available. So if you're looking for an expert, go through our membership directory. Incredible women, all sharing the values that we have as a collective. Our Facebook public page is a great place to stay in contact with what we're up to. And we have a Facebook group for our members. We're on Twitter, we're on Instagram. And we have to thank the wonderful team, Kathy Smith and Kat Coe, who look after our website and all that goes into that, and all our scheduling of our posts across those social media. Shout outs for our members, our leaders, promoting our events and those sorts of things. So thank you to Kathy and the team. Hawkins Marketing's my team, probably not doing as much in the background now that we've got Leanne Jeffrey, who's on this call. She's our membership and admin person. So if you've got questions, shoot them to Leanne. Intact Teams is Jessica Schubert, and she's developed some leadership programs for us. Anne-Marie Cross is our podcasting queen. Our favourite drop of wine is 3 Drops from the Great Southern. Jo's been wonderful at going around Australia and doing wine tastings, which is good for her and good for us. And of course, Inspiration Source, which is the wonderful Vida Carlino and her team. And we use her space, the Inspiration Space in Inglewood, every month. I wish we could actually get you, Vida, to set up an Inspiration Space in every capital city. If you can just pop that on your to-do list, that would be very helpful. Okay, our DISC Flow accreditation is online now, and we've got upcoming certifications. For those of you who are in the coaching space, it's a great, or consulting, or if you're in a leadership or management role, this is a great thing to bring in to your teams for that understanding of the differences in each other, personality and behaviours, but also adds in the emotional intelligence aspects, which is the flow part. And we have a learning at your own pace online as well. Those dates, sorry, August, they're behind. I need to update that. There's some dates on our website. If you jump on the website, there's new dates. And we've, of course, have a accredited coaching course. You can call Kathy McKenzie, who's the RTO in Sunshine Coast, who runs that. I've done this course. It's a brilliant course to Cert 4 in coaching. It's made me so much better leader. It's made me a better wife, I think, too, to be honest. I don't know if someone probably vouch for that, but my kids definitely say it's made me a better parent, because instead of telling them what to do all the time, I come from a place of curiosity. and it is curious sometimes. So those of you who aren't members, we love you to join. It helps us. Some of your fees actually do help subsidize all the stuff that we do. You know, you're our sponsors, our members are our sponsors. All these things we do does cost money, so we'd love you to join. And if you are interested in joining, look at that stunning girl there. That's a nice little photo. Leanne is at businesswomenaustralia.com.au. She's our memberships admin. She's the engine, I think someone was describing her as. She's taken on the accounts role now that solo accounts have stepped out. And so Leanne's just, oh my God, I think I might need key man insurance for her. So upcoming events, 7th of November, Melbourne Morning Tea and Mingle. That's looking like a great group at Chadstone, and Adele Andrews will be hosting that. And I think Andy Dawson's just said that she's going to come along too and give everyone an update of what's happening in Melbourne. 16th of November, Sydney Walk and Talk in the Domain. The ladies love that walk. It's always a handful of women that get the chance to chat as they have a great healthy walk, and we're doing a Perth cheese, chats and wine with words create our reality being the topic that Vida will be hosting us. So that's a courageous conversation where we just hold space for each other. There's no fixing. It's just a lot of sharing. And on the 18th of November, a goal setting webinar with Gemma Heaney. Everyone's very welcome to come along to that. It's going to be a great way to finish the year and get prepared for next year. Gemma's business, she's a very successful business owner in the Rockingham area. She's an accountant as well, but she's also very entrepreneurial and holistic with her strategies. She's going to give us a great framework for goal setting from a business perspective. And the 30th of November, we have our final event at the Inspiration Space, which is a masterclass matching 3 drops wine with gourmet cheeses with lovely Joanne Bradbury and the very hilarious and wonderfully entertaining Verity James. So on the 2nd of December, the end of year Christmas party in WA is going to be held at the Rose Garden or Rose Society, or whatever it is, in Baldivis. That's going to be a high tea. And on the 6th of December, we have Kerry Nobes, who's online today, is going to be doing a workshop on psychological safety, which is a really important thing for all of us to be bringing into our teams, into our, whether or not we're even a one-man band working with our suppliers and our clients or our coaching. I think psychological safety is going to be something that's going to be probably one of the hot topics especially for next year, for any leader, manager, supervisor. So Kerry, if you've got any questions, you can ask Kerry about that maybe at the end of this session. But I won't take any more time. I want to hand over to Emma Gray. So I'm sorry that took so long. I was told off that from last time from someone that my introductions are way too long, but I have to do them because I've got quite often people coming on board that want this and interested in joining. So if I don't do it, then it's very difficult because I don't work in BWA. It's sometimes the only chance for me to tell you about this stuff. If you've got another way or idea of how I can get this done, let me know. But I'm happy to be told off either way. So Emma's the founder of the Mindfulness Sanctuary. Don't you love the name of that business? She's a clinical psychology and a coach. She has incredible background in clinical psychology, but she's actually moved more into using that as the foundation in terms of knowledge of the brain and that aspect of, but also added into her business a whole lot of other things, which I'll get her to explain after we've had some time with Emma. But when we came up with this concept of soul leadership, we realised that, there's so many different definitions of soul leader. I've pulled together when I did the spiel for this, it's the authenticity, being ambitious and courageous, being confident, resilient and caring with a deep focus that incorporates that spiritual wholeness and the integrity that comes with that soulful being. So there is a big movement happening. It's moved out of what was probably a lot of work in pastoral care and work with, in terms of ministry work out of the churches, and it's actually starting to move more into corporate thinking and into management theory as well. So there's it's once upon a time it would have been seen as very kind of like maybe a bit woo-woo. Sorry, Vita, I know that's a word, it's an annoying word, but it would have been. And now it's actually being embraced. Now that's not important to me, but I just think it's very interesting that it's being accepted as a part of this feminine energy, or this beautiful soulful energy that we bring to business. So Emma's really going to share her expertise, her knowledge, her deep things. She's been thinking and working in this space really a lot longer, probably even before I think, I even was aware of this stuff. So I'm really excited to have you, Emma, and I'm going to hand over. I'm going to stop sharing here, and I'm going to ask you a little bit, I think, more about sort of from your perspective, when you wanted to bring this to the table, what's your perspective of soul leadership?
Yes, thank you, Lyn, and thanks everyone for showing up today. I'm really excited to be able to talk about this topic with you all. Before we do that, Lyn, is it okay if we just do a quick moment grounding practice just to bring us into the space?
Absolutely.
Being a meditation teacher, I can't help it. So if it's okay with everyone, I'm going to invite you just to take a moment here to bring yourself into the present moment. You can do this eyes open, eyes closed, whatever you feel most comfortable with. So we'll just practice this for a minute or two here. So just inviting you here, if you wish to close your eyes, to do so, and dropping into your body and into your sense of touch. So you might feel your body in contact with the chair. You might feel your feet resting against the floor. So noticing all the points where the body is in contact with the chair and the floor. And just taking a few breaths here if that feels okay for you today. Breathing in through the nostrils into the belly. And maybe even taking a big out breath if that's what your body wishes to do here. Just to let go of some of the busyness and to drop into the present moment. Just to be here. And welcoming you all into this space and this co-creative adventure that we're about to embark on together. And taking a few more breaths, and when you feel ready, gently opening your eyes and coming back into the room. Thank you for indulging me, guys, in that. I appreciate it.
I can feel it, even though we're on digital, the energy's just dropped. It's remarkable, isn't it? Maybe you should have got, no, probably good that you didn't do that before I spoke, or I'd still be speaking.
So thank you, Lyn, for allowing us the space to do that. Can you ask your question again? I'm sorry, I've forgotten what it was.
So your definition of soul leadership, so this is obviously, we grappled with, do we include this, don't we include it? So tell me about your perspective of soul leadership.
Yeah, so I did grapple with the topic for our conversation today. I think because of what you touched on before, that talking about soul and spirituality can be uncomfortable in certain circles and perhaps in business. And I can remember discussing with Lyn, is it okay to talk about spirituality to Business Women Australia? Is that weird? Is that wrong? But it's absolutely a passion of mine, this dimension of soul and our whole self. and this belief that I have that actually it's the foundation of all that we are and everything that we're called into. So I decided to throw caution to the wind and run an event called Soul Leadership. And if people showed up, great. And if they're open to it, great. And if it's not for business women Australia, then that's okay too. Yeah.
And well, you know, as far as I was concerned, I knew that I'd be here and I knew that Vita would probably show up. So there's two of us anyway. And I'm not surprised to see who we have here today. This is just such a beautiful group of leaders here. So, we look at sort of how soul leadership can boost all these different things in life. We talk about innovative thinking and creativity, performance, self-awareness and confidence, vitality, ease. It can have manifest into so many things. So how does meaning and purpose sit within that soul leadership piece? Because that's sort of what we're going to drop into, is the meaning and purpose piece.
Yeah, so really what it's about for me is this understanding or this perspective that every soul is born into this lifetime with a powerful intention or desire or purpose for what we want to do with this life, with this experience, with this playful, sometimes scary, sometimes messy adventure that we're all on. That there is this sense, if we're willing to open up to it, that actually we're powerfully guided by this deeper part of ourselves, whatever you want to call that intuition, inner wisdom, inner guidance, higher self, soul, spirit, source, the universe. That is a powerful, deep and rich part of who we are. And that part of us is calling us on our life path. One of my favorite quotes is by author and teacher Jean Houston. And she says that the soul is the lure of our becoming. And I love that, because I have the sense that my soul, or my higher self, whatever you want to call that, is out in front of me, creating all these magnificent things for me in my life, and is calling me towards that. And if I can drop into my intuition, if I can drop into that part of me, I can follow the clues to that. So that's the woo-woo perspective. The research is showing, Lyn, exactly as you just said, that there's this big shift that is happening in leadership, this big shift that is happening in business, and that as we tune into what brings us a sense of meaning and purpose, what our heart is really calling us towards, what is really, really deeply important to us, as we tune into that at an individual level, but also at a business level, that there's a range of different benefits that come for the business and the individual. So research shows that businesses that bring ethics and spiritual values into the workplace have increased productivity, increased profitability. There's greater employee retention, that there's greater customer loyalty, it's good for the brand reputation. So it's really good for business. And part of that is because we all want to be part of something bigger. We are hardwired to connect. We're hardwired to want to contribute in some way to something. And that something will be different for each of us. But those business leaders have recognized that harnessing that and tuning into that and making the business mission about that, not just the bottom line, but about making it something bigger than the bottom line, then that is a really powerful impetus forward for the business.
Yeah, we talk in BWA about this vision being for the greater good, and it's a loose term, but it's such a powerful term, because it's been interesting working with different women across, their own areas, and saying, what is the greater good? Doing something for the greater good, what does that mean for you? And what does it mean for you? And what does it mean for you? Because that's where the creativity then can spark, because it's just there's so much that we can sort of work with such a broad definition, rather than saying we're just here for sharing knowledge. because then it's sort of, it's okay, well then we come up with what knowledge topics would we be sharing. So it's just so, I love that. I really love that. And so from your point of view, what is your why? I mean, you've come from an area of clinical psychology, and this just sort of doesn't sound like the sort of stuff that normally would be in the remit of a clinical psychologist, or is it? I mean, what's your why, and why do you do why are you doing this?
Yeah, so it's not, spirituality isn't in the realm of clinical psychology in Australia, sadly. It is in other countries, but we've become a bit disconnected here, which is probably why I've moved into coaching and meditation teaching and all the things that really light me up and I'm really passionate about. I guess for me, Lyn, I used to work in the corporate world, and that was my past life, and part of me enjoyed that, and I enjoyed connecting with people, and I enjoyed training people and helping people and running teams. I loved that. But the other aspects of the corporate world didn't light me up. It wasn't what my heart was calling me towards. I really wanted to help people, and I've always been fascinated by people and what makes them tick. And I'd find myself often in conversation with people I met. Often I'd ask them what they do, and then my next question was, and do you enjoy that? And if they did enjoy it, this is long before I was a psychologist, and this is long before I was a coach, I'd find myself wanting to help them figure out what it is that made them happy. And because I've been on my own personal journey of anxiety and burnout and feeling like I didn't really know what my place in the world was, and then finding the thing that really lit me up, finding the thing that brings me so much joy and that feels so fun to me, and I really, really, really love what I do. Going from that place of anxiety and burnout and depleted yuck because I wasn't on the right path for me, and then finding that and knowing how good that feels, and knowing that actually every single one of us, even if we're not consciously aware of it, we have a deep calling, we have a deep yearning. There's something that wants to be expressed through us in this lifetime, and it will be different things for different people. But when we find that thing or those things, it might be multiple things, when we figure that out and when we can embody that and when we can live that, that feels so delicious and so fulfilling and so awesome. I want that for everyone. So I guess that's my why, is I love to work with my clients to help them figure out what that is for them and what they're being called to. And that will be different things for each of us. But I see how people go from feeling depleted and depressed and shut down and burnt out and stressed and overwhelmed to feeling really alive and really loving life. So it's a beautiful journey that I really love taking my clients on. Yeah. So
I'm sort of contemplating as I'm listening to that, I'm thinking how in my life, my why has changed at different stages of my life. When I was single, my why was very much, very career oriented and getting established and being financially independent. My mum was a widow and my dad died when I was 16. So for me, it was really important for me to be very self-reliant. But as I, got married and then became a mother, my why changed very significantly from there, and kind of fought with my original why too. My whys were having a bit of a battle. There was a bit of a battleground between my independent, resilient, very purposeful why of me being totally independent. I was the one with the assets. When Simon and I got married, I was the one that had the career. There was at one stage there he was going to be a stay-at-home dad. But my why started shifting when I was all these nurturing kind of biological things were changing the way that I was thinking. I thought, I want to be at home with these kids more than 3 months. You better go out and get a job. So my next why was securing Simon into employment so I could follow my next why. So my whys have shifted, and it's quite an interesting thing, because what I've realized is that if I'm caught up in this why, and pursuing it, and I'm in that roller coaster of achieving that why, but actually my own why has shifted, but I haven't realized. That's probably when I've been the most fucked up, really. Oh, sorry, I'm recording this. But that, that's the reality. There's been times when I very much thinking about where I was stuck under a doona for 3 days when I was working with a really toxic company. We just achieved a massive big rollout of an infrastructure for WA Country Health for their video conferencing. And my boss was he was a really tough guy to work for at the time. And by the end of that, I was depleted. You guys probably can't imagine, but I had no confidence. I was broken. And I was so determined to be successful. My why when I started that job was to be really successful. My first job back into corporate after being at home with the kids. And I had to completely review that why is actually not that more. That's not important. My biggest why is actually still to my family and my health. I can't just go back to being what I was like before and burn myself out. So it's really this concept of why is such a deep and powerful concept that it's been thrown around, bantered around in kind of, mini workshops here and there. Let's do our why in half an hour, this sort of stuff. It's like really, it's an interesting thing what's happening. Everyone, I think it's very trendy at the moment to be talking about my why. So this is a really great opportunity, I think, to really contemplate that. Do you think everyone has a why?
100%. Yes, absolutely, Lyn. And it may change and shift across time. And we may not be clear on what our why is necessarily. I know certainly I wasn't when I was back working in the corporate world. I was disconnected from that part of me, so I didn't know. But absolutely, we all have a deeper sense of meaning and purpose. The reason why we get out of bed, the reason why we feel called to do whatever it is that we feel called to do. We all have that. We just may not be aware of that. And that, I guess that's part of what I work with my clients on, if they're not sure what their why is, to figure out what that is. What are their most dearly held values? What are their innate strengths, gifts, abilities, and how do these things come together? And what is their higher self guiding them towards? So we all have that. It's just a matter of giving the space to discover what that is, and perhaps even having the tools or the support to figure out what that is if we don't know. But for sure, we all do. Yeah, that one of my favorite quotes is, it's been attributed to Einstein, but maybe it wasn't Einstein who said this, but he said that everybody is a genius. But if you judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree, it will live its whole life believing it's stupid. And I love that, because that fish wants to be in the ocean, and in the ocean can just live with beautiful grace and ease and flow. But that fish trying to climb the tree then, can feel like it has failed in life at some way, or life is hard work, or life is a struggle, or, all of those things that we go through as human beings. So it's so beautiful if we can figure out that we are the fish that wants to be in the ocean rather than the fish that wants to climb the tree. And then life unfolds in the most magnificent and awe-inspiring, magical ways when we get into our flow, when we find our why, and when we start living from that space. Yeah.
So can you help us today? Maybe do something, bring one of your tools in to. Can we have a crack at that? No, so we get a bit of a taste of how to find our whys.
Yes, sure, absolutely. Yeah. So I know that everyone on the call is living different lives in different places, in different stages. Some of you might be really clear on your why. Some of you may feel disconnected, a bit lost, a bit like there should be more to life, but not really sure what that is. So acknowledging that we're all in different places on our journey. This exercise can help us even if it doesn't immediately bring us to our why, you know, we might not get an earth-shattering vision after this exercise today. It's just a little 5-minute exercise. What it can do is start to help us tune into our inner guidance, our inner wisdom, our intuition, that voice that is part of our higher self, soul source, the universe, whatever you want to call that. As we get more practice at tuning into that voice, that deeper part of ourselves, and learn to listen to that and learn to live more in alignment with that, then that can lead us to our why, but also to a life that feels more joyful and peaceful, and all of the beautiful things that come when we are able to tune into that inner guidance. Yeah. So guys, if you're willing to, I'm going to invite you to have a go at a little 5-minute mindfulness exercise here. You don't have to do it if you don't wish to. You can do it eyes open, eyes closed. There's no right or wrong. Before we do the exercise, I'm going to ask you a couple of questions, which you may or may not wish to contemplate here today. This may not feel like the space where you want to do this, or maybe you feel too tired, or maybe you feel too stressed or overwhelmed. But a really powerful question that I invite my clients to contemplate is, what depletes me? And that might be the people, the activities, the environments, the places, the situations. What depletes me? And then the second question is, what replenishes me? Mentally, emotionally, physically, spiritually. What replenishes me? What replenishes me? What nourishes me? What nurtures me? What relaxes me? So I'm just going to give you just a minute or two here, if you wish to contemplate and maybe write down some of those things, if you feel in a space to do that today. And then I'm going to invite you to do an embodied mindfulness exercise around this. I'll just put those questions in the chat so you've got them. And this may be an uncomfortable exercise to do, so just making space for that. I know the first time I did this exercise, I found it quite confronting to notice actually nearly everything in my life depleted me. So if that's you today, that's okay. If you don't know the answer to the question, what replenishes me, that's okay too. Maybe you can ask yourself, what feels relaxing for me? So you may want some more time to contemplate this, and maybe you want to do that in another space or another time when you can really allow yourself to sit with this. But it just gives you a little bit of a taste. So in this 5-minute mindfulness activity that I'm going to invite you to have a go at, I'm going to invite you, first of all, to bring to mind something that replenishes you. And I'm going to invite you just to immerse yourself in a visualization of imagining what that is and how that feels in your body. So we'll do that for a minute or two. And then just very briefly, just for 10 or 15 seconds or so, I'm going to invite you to bring to mind something that depletes you, just so you can notice what happens in your body. I'm not going to hold you there for a long time because it's obviously not pleasant to be there, but it really might help you just start to notice what happens in your body and what your body guidance is perhaps trying to tell you about these things. So that's what I'm going to invite you to do. Again, you don't have to do it today if this doesn't feel like the space that you wish to do this, but if you'd like to have a go, then obviously I'd love you to have a go. Any questions about this activity before we dive in? Okay, so if you're okay to, inviting you to close your eyes if you wish. And just take a moment to drop your awareness back into your body again, to feel your body in the chair, to feel your feet on the floor. And to connect with the breath. Feeling the rise and fall of the chest and the belly. And starting to bring to mind something that replenishes you, that feels relaxing or nourishing for you. Imagine yourself doing that thing now. Really imagine yourself there in that situation. And notice what you see around you. The shapes, the colours. And notice what you might hear. Maybe it's sounds of nature, music, people. Maybe it's silence. What can you hear in this place? And tuning into your sense of touch. What do you feel through your skin, through your hands and your feet? And are there things to taste or smell? Allowing yourself to immerse in the sensory experience. And noticing now what you feel in your body. Noticing your energy levels, emotions, sensations. How do you feel? And now starting to let the image of that experience go. Feeling your body in the chair again. And very briefly bringing to mind something that depletes you or feels stressful for you, and notice what happens in the body. What do you feel? What emotions come up for you? What sensations do you feel in your body? And I don't want to leave you there. So letting the image of that fade from your mind and bringing awareness back into your body in the chair here and now. Feeling your back against the back of the chair, your legs against the base of the chair. feeling your feet on the floor, and just taking a few more breaths. And when you feel ready, opening your eyes and coming back into the room. And I'm just going to give you a few moments here, if you wish to write down, draw, contemplate anything that came up for you in this exercise. So Lyn, this is a question for you. We can share together as a big group if you like, and we can debrief together as a big group, or we can do that first briefly and then send everyone to breakout rooms, or we can send them to breakout rooms first and then come back together and debrief as a group.
I will. I'm open either way. I'm happy to put into breakout groups, or there's a small group online, so I'll stop the recording.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe we'll share as a bigger group to start off with, I think.
Okay.
Only for those who
don't bore you guys that just heard that. So this triangle represents the different layers of our being: our higher self, which is our highest intelligence, our purest part of ourselves. The next level down is identity. This is the stories we tell ourselves, the beliefs that we have about ourselves and the world around us, the values that we hold dear to ourselves and what's really most important to us, our state of being, our energy levels, our current levels of stress, our emotions, how we're feeling in our body. And then at the bottom level is behavior, how we take action in the world, how we interact with the world. So at the level of identity, if we have unhelpful limiting beliefs that aren't in alignment with our higher self, then we might hold ourselves back from being the leader, from being the person that we want to be in the world. So I work with my clients to help them shift limiting beliefs and to tune in more powerfully with those beliefs that are serving us, that are in alignment with our higher self. At the level of state, as a meditation and mindfulness teacher, I work with my clients to help them reduce stress, to restore balance, to restore energy, to do the things then, or to have the energy to put into the things that are important to us, I guess, as Camilla was touching on and some of you were touching on before. And these top three levels, we don't see, they're inside here. What we see then is the action, we see the behavior. So a lot of leadership programs, a lot of programs will target the level of skills. They'll teach you some really good skills and habits and strategies to put into action. But unless the top three levels of the triangle are in alignment, we will keep self-sabotaging ourselves. So we might know the skill, but we might have a deeper subconscious belief that's holding us back from putting that skill into place or using that skill in a helpful way. So having all of these levels of the triangle in alignment, as I said before, create transformational change within us, but also then how we show up in the world and how we can become a more powerful and effective leader in our lives, in our personal lives, in our professional lives, whatever it is that's important to us.
Oh, I love that. And look, we got a really interesting question to the panel last night from one of the audience members is, you know, when women aren't supportive of each other, what can we do about it? And I was so glad that I wasn't asked that question, because I wouldn't have known how to answer it. But it just made me realize, looking at this, that if we come to share behaviors that and give feedback around behavior that's not obviously in line with a woman's deepest sense and highest, purest purpose, then this is a really great place to be actually able to do some work with people who may be demonstrating that they're not supportive and not being, their best collaborative, loving selves. I mean, they might just not want to be interested in it, but there's an opportunity to have a conversation around this kind of framework. Incredible, really.
Yes, and none of us is perfect, Lyn, and we're all human with our limitations and our flaws and our failings, and we all have judgments of self and others. So none of us is perfect, but bit by bit, and that stuff comes from a place of fear. So if we can meet that with compassion, ultimately, at the end of the day, as human beings, we all want to be seen, heard, acknowledged, and appreciated and loved for who we are at our core. So, being a little kinder to ourselves and being a little kinder to others, and giving grace to ourselves and others in all of this. So that was all my blah, 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 Lyn. I was not sure how much time we've got left, so I thought I'd pause there.
If there's any questions, pop them in the chat box, because we really are coming to sort of the last 5 minutes really together. It's been it's gone so quickly. And I think what I'd like to use these last few minutes is just to go around and just for everyone just to check out with maybe how you feel. If you wanted to share something that was an aha, that's great. If you don't, just think it would just be lovely to get a feeling as we close, and just feel free to take a note of who's on the call and connect to each other on LinkedIn. That's great. That's a part of what this is all about. There is an element of networking. Networking is really a secondary thing that happens with Businesswomen Australia. We're not really a networking group, but we are. So maybe Kerry, do you want to check out first?
Sure, I'll jump in there. So I've just really enjoyed connecting to everybody, and what really comes home for me is that the space I work in, looking at making workplaces places where people can thrive and where people get satisfaction and feel great about what they're doing, ties in so nicely to what you're doing, Emma, on an individual basis. And it's just warming to my heart to see people here who are there and connected to themselves and have that inward look. And if we do that, then I think we can help people looking out as well in our teams.
Beautiful. Thanks, Kerry, and thanks for taking the time on here. Fran, would you like to check out next?
Yeah, sure. Well, thank you, first of all, to Emma, and it's great to connect with everyone here. It's been nice to meet you all. I think for me, what I've really enjoyed is exploring this question of, our purpose or our why more. It's something that I've definitely often thought about, and I'm not quite sure I've nailed my why yet. So just taking those questions around depletion and replenishing is something that I'm going to take away and really focus on and have a deep think about. That's been really helpful, I guess, to start this conversation and start this journey. So thank you.
Thanks, Fran. Over to Amy. Would you like to check out next?
Yeah, thank you. Thanks, Emma, as well. I'm a psychologist myself, so kind of having an opportunity to sit kind of on the other end and be mindful and actually put in place some of the things that I talk about as well was a really good opportunity. And I did really like that sort of visualization that showed me that, whilst I'm kind of on the right path, there's still certainly tweaking and shedding some of the negative side of things. The walls, the four walls that sort of I find depleting versus nature, and getting out there and, exploring more of that adventurous spirit in myself certainly needs to happen a bit more. So thank you. That was great.
Thanks, Amy. Lovely Helen Nan, would you like to check out now?
Yeah, sure. So I really enjoyed today's session, and thank you, Emma, give us this opportunity to self-discover our why and our purpose in life. So I asked myself quite a few times about these questions, why I do what I do and my purpose of my life. But your questions let me think other things happened in my life, and I always try to be a best version of myself, but there's always a gap between who you are and who you want to be. So I used to work for the bank as an advisor, financial advisor for almost 10 years, and I want to help people on my own terms. So that's why I left the bank, because I don't really want to sell the product what other people told me to sell. But after I left the bank, I just feel I thought I'm going to get the freedom and the control. But after I left the bank, I just feel I lost like the connection with working with a team. And also I have to carry everything on my own shoulder. It's a really lonely journey to be a self-employed. So today's session definitely let me think lots of things. After this session, I have to redefine myself and also do other things to see how I can be a best version of myself. But thank you very much. Thank you for your questions, and thank you all your sharing your wisdom and very much. Yeah, Emma. I really enjoyed it. Yeah.
Thank you, Helen. Yeah, I've been missing our conversations too.
Yeah, I haven't been active for the last 3 months because lots of things going on. So, but I will be back very soon. Trust me. Thank you.
We love you, Tracy Cooper.
Thank you. Thanks, Lyn. I really enjoyed it. I felt like I've had an hour and a half for me and take a little journey. And working in, as I said before, in this space, Emma, what you've done is you asked just a couple of questions, which actually sparked a lot of visualization and thinking. So I think sometimes we can overdo things or over too many questions, too many things in 2 questions. And I've written a page full of notes. My business partner just sent me a message and said, "What are you doing?" I said, "I can't talk to you. I'm having a great time here," which I can share with her, which will be a great conversation for her and I to have as well. So, and what I do for others, I think, is what I got from this is I do a lot for others, but what do I do for me in my why to be able to do that for others, I think is what I've confirmed, I suppose, in this. And Leanne, I really liked your bit. I've written it down. What can I give and what can I take? And I think that was really powerful. So I'll borrow that one. But thank you, Emma. I've really enjoyed it. And thank you, Lyn, for your inputs as well. And everyone else, lovely to meet you all.
Yeah, so lovely to have you, Tracy. It's just been such a highlight for me to see so many of our leaders in the community being on this call today. And so many of us are in these roles where we're giving so much to others. It's just lovely to be able to have that bit of time out where we've got that beautiful space being held. So thank you, Emma. Over to you, Vida. Your turn to check out.
Yeah, thank you, ladies. It's been really enriching. What's standing out for me is this whole replenishing thing, and it's sort of evolved as I've listened to each of you speak. It's for me, it's all about just being genuine. It's not about being the best version of myself. It's being the most genuine version of myself and being courageous and honest when I'm not up, and be that real version of myself. So it's just touching me as I'm speaking and evolving. So thank you, Emma. Thank you, Lyn, and thank you, everyone. Beautiful.
Thank you, Vida. So wonderful to have you here with us. Estelle, would you like to check out?
Sure. Thank you, Emma, and thank you, Lyn. It was actually really enjoyable for me because it's sort of been conversations I've been having with myself. So it was really timely, and it was really actually good to hear a lot of other people had been going through very similar conversations with themselves and evolutions of their why. So thank you.
Thank you, Estelle.
Thanks, Estelle. Kate.
Thank you both, because this has been a fabulous conversation, and one that's very familiar to me. Where one of the things that kind of made me laugh was when we were doing that visioning, I was walking along the beach in Waikiki, at home in Perth, and here I am sitting in Canberra. So I know we do want to come home, but I do also recognise that when I'm home in Perth, I miss the mountains in Canberra. So my vision will be to live in both places. But yeah, thank you for kind of giving us this opportunity to have this conversation and to just think about these things, because it's vital. We all need to be having these conversations with ourselves. So thank you.
Thank you, Kate.
Yeah, thanks, Kate. Camilla.
Thank you so much. Time really well spent. Thank you for setting this session up. A few things I've shared already a little bit around it, but I think what then really stood out for me, or what really made it sort of all come together, is that pyramids that you shared at the end, Emma, and how we tend to think about, when we're thinking about training or addressing like leadership competencies and things like that, or even within ourselves, we focus on that behavioral level rather than actually taking it higher to the identity and higher self, which explains so much why it doesn't stick, why it doesn't actually get adopted, and why we sabotage ourselves. So that was really a bit of a gold nugget. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. I agree, Emma. It's been very, very insightful. Leanne, would you like to check out?
Yes. Well, before I check out, I just want to send Vita lots of love, with you and your sister, just giving it out to you, because it is like, it's such a hard journey for everyone when we face cancer. So I'm just sending you lots and lots of love. And just thanks, everyone. I was going to apologize for having to deal with my boy, but I realized, this is exactly what we're talking about. And, I've set him off to replenish and decompress and have a shower. So thank you for letting me do that in front of everyone. And, we talk about the people replenishing us and having this space, and that's replenishing enough for me to be able to focus on the rest of the day now. So thank you. And thanks, guys, for bringing us together.
So thank you from the bottom of our heart, Emma Gray. Your guidance and your wisdom and your love and care has just created such a beautiful space for us all to be able to drop into, and these are the connections that we make that are really meaningful. And thank you for facilitating that opportunity for us. And thank you, ladies, for all being here. It's all well and good for us to have these great ideas, but without the participation, without you guys taking time out and carving out that time in your busy lives to be bringing your authentic selves here, it wouldn't be such a rich experience for any of us. So thank you so much. And we look forward to seeing you either online, probably online for some of you, that we don't have in-person events everywhere. But if you want to do in-person events next year, even if it's just to organise a coffee, if there's a venue that's suitable that you know of, that's got a private space for a conversation, you want to host it, just reach out, let Leanne know, and we'll drop the date and manage the event from the back end. We just need sort of people on the ground to be willing to say, hey, I'll be the person that welcomes people, and we'll go out and promote it. So I'm very keen on, having conveners wherever you want to convene. So, thank you, everyone. And thank you, Emma.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you so
Bye,
much.
everyone.
I really, really enjoyed today. Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank
Emma.
you. See
Bye,
ya.
everyone.
Bye.
Thanks, guys. Bye.